Good evening, racing fans. Welcome back to the channel, proudly sponsored by betting.co.uk. So, we're just back with another episode as part of my Stable Tour series. And anyone who knows me will be well aware that I'm very excited by this one indeed, as I am joined by none other than Barry Connell. Barry, how are you? You okay?
Yeah, all good. Thanks, Joe. Looking forward to the season.
Excellent, excellent. I suppose it's starting to get exciting now, Barry. Not too long until the jumps racing really kicks off. What's the mood like at the yard at the current time?
Yeah, it's good. We're gradually winding up. We always find after the stole is over, the proper winter horses start coming out. So we expect to have quite a few runners over the next 10 days or so. I think the first big handicap chase is the Munster National, the end of the month. We're hoping to have something in that, and then it keeps rolling on after that. So yeah, everything seems to be going according to plan so far. The no no wheels have come off yet, which is good.
Yeah, good, good. We don't want anything to fall off too early, that's for sure, Barry.
No,
That's for sure.
no, 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 no,
All
no.
right, just a quick one before we go on to some of your runners. I just thought I'd ask you about some of the changes made to Cheltenham. How do you feel about the race changes to the schedule? Do you see these as a positive or not really at the moment? Or?
Yeah, yeah, I do. I mean, it's obvious to everybody that something needed to be done. There was the fields were too small. There was too many short price favourites. The meeting was being dominated by one trainer largely. I mean, none of those things are in the interests of the overall health of the industry and the meeting itself. That kind of anybody that loves national hunt racing kind of grew up with the 3 day festival and really competitive racing, where it was quite hard for um, the good horses to avoid each other. I mean, it was only the grace of God that we avoided going to a fifth day. I mean, that was proposed up to 6 months ago. I
Yes.
mean, it's hard to believe. Um, and it took a kind of a pretty dismal Cheltenham this year to give the authorities a kick in the backside to get something done. I mean, I actually enjoyed Royal Ascot more this year than Cheltenham,
Wow.
and that's
Wow.
saying something. I mean, Royal Ascot had, I think, one odds on shot. Um, I think there was only two of the grade ones won by the same trainer, and you had full fields.
Sure, sure.
I mean, Cheltenham was a disaster this year. So look, they've made a start. I would have. I think what they've done in the novice chase side of things is good because it's going to force horses to either the 2 mile or 3 mile, and that's no bad thing.
Good.
I think Kicking King started off in the Arkle.
Yes.
Look, I mean, we've Goodland is ran the 2.5 mile novice hurl, and the 2.5 mile would have been probably an obvious target for him. But I don't have any compunction in dropping it back to 2 miles. Um, I think they missed a trick with the mayor's hurl. They're tinkering around with penalties and so forth. I would have capped that um, at say a 0 to 150,
Okay.
which would mean that up to a grade two, it still encourages the mayor's programming and all the good mayors, except for when you have an exceptional one
Like
uh,
mouth.
like Honeysuckle or Lossiemouth.
Yeah, sure, sure.
So that would push them into the champion hurl and would
Of course.
strengthen the champion hurl. Champion hurl has been, a very uncompetitive race in recent times. I mean, luckily the Gold Cup is holding up. Um, yeah, I think that there's probably some further measures to be taken, but it's a step in the right direction, and hopefully, we get a more competitive meeting this year because it's it's vital for racing's finances and for drawing people into the sport that
Sure.
people just don't switch off. And I think there definitely was the danger if we got a similar outcome as we had last year, then I think there would be serious issues.
I mean, if we sort of look back to the days of like Rooster Booster and things when we had sort of 20 runner champion hurdles, I mean, perhaps gone are the days, but like you said, at least it's a step back in the right direction to get the competitive racing that we're after, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I mean, the other big elephant in the room is that the English owners need to back the English trainers.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, if you look down the list of the leading Irish owners in the table here, most of them are based in the UK.
Yes.
And taking horses from Nicky Henderson and Alan King and sending them across the water just because a certain trainer is having all the winners at the moment. I mean, these things can be cyclical, but there has to be a healthy balance between Ireland and England. And I know these things are cyclical, but it's out of kilter at the moment. And that used to be the great dynamic as well in Cheltenham, a great narrative, between Ireland and England, and it's kind of a complete one-way street at the moment.
Sure.
So, look, as I say, I think these things are obviously cyclical, but at the moment, I think there needs to be more. I don't know what the trainers can do about it. Maybe nothing. And if results swing back, then the title moved back across. But that's just the way things have gone at the moment.
I mean, there's plenty of good trainers around as well. Like you said, it's not like there's only one trainer capable of doing certain things. There's so many trainers that, given the ammo, can do
Yeah,
wonders
absolutely.
with horses. We've seen this in the past.
Yeah, yeah. But look, I mean, it's the same in most sports. I mean, football's gone down the same route. You've only
Sure,
four teams that can win the Premiership, and
sure.
motor racing. It's just the large entities are getting bigger. You've got probably two to three stables here with 400 horses.
Sure.
So it's sucking the life out of all the middle tier. And you need narratives as well in this game. People like national hunt racing because the horses stay around for longer,
Yes.
and people can get to know them and get associated with them. They're not sent off to stud, after a season and a half.
Of course. Of
Um,
course.
and I think people like to see different names cropping up, and the stories there. I mean, going back to Cheltenham, they're moving the cross country back to a handicap. I think is a great idea. I mean, we had Enda Bulger wasn't able to get a look in the last 3 or 4 years. We had a fantastic story 5 or 6 years ago with Big Shoe. A small, tiny trainer winning a Cheltenham race with a bank specialist. That's the way it should be. I mean, not a retirement home for ex-Gold Cup horses.
Of course. Of course.
So
Creates a story as
that's
well, doesn't it? It creates a story for the public to
yeah,
get behind
yeah.
as
It
well.
creates a story for the public. I mean, they're great stories about Eric McNamara in Ireland had 5 winners in the Stole. I
Yes.
mean, Eric McNamara's, had a number of difficult seasons, like a lot of trainers, who were successful in the past, and I mean, I think everybody was delighted to see.
Yes.
He ended up leading trainer at Listowel. I mean, what odds would you have got on that?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Not well, very, very big. But like you said, he is another trainer that just proves if you give a trainer the right ammo. I think you're exactly the same, Barry. You give a good trainer some good horses, they're more than capable of picking up big prizes with these horses. So, I mean, at least it's healthy problems going in the right direction. It's a step that
Yeah,
we
it is.
needed to
Look,
see.
we could well bounce back and have a cracking Cheltenham this year. I
Yes.
hope we do. Let's hope that that happens. And there's probably a couple of other changes to be made.
Sure, sure.
But anyway, it's a step in the right direction.
Absolutely. Right then, Barry, let's go on to some of the stable string. And I think we may as well start off with the horse that, as you know, I'm borderline obsessed with at this point, and that is your wonderful 7-year-old gelding by French Navy. We have Marine Nationale. Of course, he's won 6 of his 7 starts to date. He won the Supreme Novice Hurdle at Cheltenham. But before we look at his form and his targets, I mean, how has he been over the summer? Is he as good as ever in your eyes at the moment?
Well, look, it's hard to say because he's only back cantering about 4 weeks. So um, Garrett, who rides him, is happy with him. He's a light framed horse, so he's not going to take forever. But what we're seeing is good so far. He obviously had to have a lot of box rest with the suspensory injury that he incurred. So we're just kind of taking it slowly with him. But I mean, at this stage, we're looking at probably a first run in the middle of November. So looking at the calendar there, it's kind of 5 to 6 weeks away. So he needs to start stepping up in the next couple of weeks. And we've no reason to assume that all the ability isn't there. We just have to be patient, and thankfully, it looks as if all the scans and everything are excellent, and we've got the go ahead to kick on, and that's the plan at the moment. We're looking at there's two suitable races in November. One of them is in Naas. It's a Grade 3. I think it's called the Poplar Square. I think that's the 10th, and then the week after that is the Fortria in Navan, which is a Grade 2. They're both 2 mile. They're both 2 mile open chases, and after that, we'd be looking at the obvious target of Leopardstown at Christmas is a Grade 1 there, and there's one at the Dublin Racing Festival, and then if everything is still going according to plan, we're heading back for the Queen Mother. So, I mean, that's the update with him.
Perfect.
It's not just all I can say is it's going according to plan at the moment, and we haven't. He's only cantering, so and we would expect to step it up there in the next couple of weeks.
Perfect. A lot of people, especially on social media, talk about how he has a dislike in. Well, you mentioned he has a dislike into soft ground, but some people on social media saying, well, he's won over hurdles on soft and heavy. Is it fair to assume though that his class has enabled him to get it done in the softer conditions over hurdles, whereas it takes more effort to jump over
Well,
fences?
I don't think he's ever won on heavy. The only time he won on soft was the Royal Bond.
The Royal Bond, yeah.
It had just started raining that day, and that was one of the earlier races. The hurl track was definitely better than the chase track.
Okay.
The chase track was much softer that day. It was what I'd call summer soft. There was a bottom to it. It was loose. It was loose ground. It wasn't that testing. So other than that, I really can't recall him running on soft ground.
Okay, fine. And my take on him as well, going towards Cheltenham, if you had all of the horses in a line turning for home, I think his speed, his natural speed that he's inherited from French Navy is just unmatched. Would you agree that he's got a very fast sprint speed effectively, in comparison to what else you've seen, in recent years? The turn of foot that he has shown has been wicked at times.
Yeah, I mean, he's shown that in his 2 Grade 1s. I think the Royal Bond, the race didn't work out. He got caught in a pocket, got shuffled back, and then looked like he was coming to win, and then made the only mistake he made at the last. It's a very short run in flat track. And Irish Point went ahead of him. And little do we know at the time that four Grade 1 winners were going to come out of that race.
Yes.
And he picked up and just sprinted to the line and okay, he won by a short head, I think, but was probably going away at the finish. Yes. So, and as you say, everyone saw what he did in Cheltenham. You know, he's a high cruising speed and ability to kick off that and stay on up the hill. Like, you know, the Supreme is never won by non-stayers. You know, you have to be a stayer as well. So, look, he has a very potent blend of high cruising speed and a finishing kick. So, you know, I don't see why you know, that isn't there. You know, when horses don't run, people tend to forget about them, and that's fair enough.
Sure.
But no, I mean the other issue people ask me is about you know, we got his win done. I mean, it's, you know, not really a big deal. Like, so many horses get their win done these days, and it was a pallet. It wasn't a major operation. I think Constitution Hill has had a procedure done this year as well. You know,
because he's always had a high head carriage, as it is.
Yeah, that's something that people picked up on after he got beat in Leopardstown.
Sure.
But he's always had that from day one. He's always had that. He's looked like a horse that's kind of looking for air.
Yes.
But that's just the way he carries himself. And you know, I wouldn't overread into that, you know. I mean, he's had one bad run in Leopardstown. You know, the ground was pretty heavy. The ground was pretty heavy on the day, and it just didn't happen for him. Sure. And every horse entitled to a bad run. We've probably seen more on the flat with Aidan's horses. These horses bouncing back spectacularly from a bad run. So, you know, I'm certainly giving him the benefit of the doubt at this stage. You know, he was spectacular in his beginners at Christmas on nice ground. And you know, we'll do a little bit of schooling with him before he runs. But no, I mean, look, obviously, you know, when you look at the run in the Dublin Races Festival, you know, everyone, myself and everyone in the stable, were stunned when he got beat. But look, you take these things on the chin, and you know, it was subsequent to that that the other issue with his suspensory occurred, and that is fully healed at this stage. So, you know, I'm optimistic we'll see him back to his best.
Perfect. That's what I wanted to hear, Barry. I mean, I'm going to be following you around the country once again, watching him go. That's for sure, like the madman I am. But very, very excited to see him go. I really can't wait to see him hopefully prove everybody wrong this year. Now we'll move on to Goodland, Barry. Lovely 8-year-old boy, Blue Brazil. He had a few issues as well. But again, he's another extremely talented horse. He won the Nathaniel Lacey at the DRF. How's he been? And where are you with him at the moment?
Yeah, he got a more serious injury. He got an injury to one of his front tendons, and it came to light after Cheltenham. Not saying it was directly the result of Cheltenham, but sometimes these things can be maybe there in the background. And he's a bigger, heavier horse. You know, Marine he's a lighter framed horse, so it's easier to cope with the good ground and the undulations in Cheltenham. Cheltenham's quite undulating, particularly down the back. And if a horse hits one of those ridges, it doesn't take much to take a false step. So his injury was more serious, and we had to give him, we obviously did a procedure treatment with him, and gave him a full 12 months to recover. Again, all his scans are very good. He is ready to start back cantering next week. He's a bit behind. He's a bit behind the rest of them because we had to give him a full 12 months program. But again, he's very lightly raced. He's had a handful of runs. So the plan with him is to go novice chasing.
Perfect. He's magnificent in the flesh to look at. When I came to your yard, he looks beautiful in the flesh.
Yeah, he's a very imposing individual. As I say, he is more like a traditional big national hunt horse. So he'll want soft ground, and I would envisage probably a beginner's. He's starting now, so he's probably going to need. If he gets to a beginner's there sometime before Christmas, that's probably what we'll be looking at.
Perfect.
And maybe coming back to the Dublin Racing Festival then for, if he wins this beginners, like the program in Ireland. One of the reasons why Irish racing is so competitive, that we don't have winners races like you guys do in the UK.
Yes.
So when you win your maiden hurler, your beginner's chase in from this time of year onwards, your next run is usually in either in a grade 2 or a grade 1, or else you're going back handicapping.
Yes, sure.
So it forces if you're an impressive winner of a maiden or a beginners at Naas or Navan, you're forced into running in a grade 2 or a grade 1.
Sure.
So you kind of know your fate fairly quickly. After that, so that's usually what happens. If he goes and wins his beginners impressively, he's probably heading for grade 1 straight after that.
Perfect. Okay. Excellent. Well, glad to know he's at least on his way back. So he's full of promise as a novice hurdler too. One you have for this coming season, who is a very exciting horse. Another one who seems to have a wicked turn of foot is William Munny. He won at one at Naas. And then I think when he finished third at Punchestown, you could probably mark that performance up a little bit. He didn't quite get the run of the race on the home bend, but he looks extremely talented as well. And another horse that looks much bigger in size this year too.
Yeah, he was one. We had a very clear run with him up until Punchestown, and about 3 weeks before Punchestown, he just worked terrible one morning, and we got his bloods taken, and he didn't have an infection, or he wasn't anemic, but his bloods were out of kilter. It was like he had a liver infection or something like that. So we ran some more tests on him, and we put him on a course of treatment, and he gradually came back, and his work. I was looking for a reason not to run him, to be honest with you. And we worked him again about 10 days before Punchestown, and his work was back to kind of 90%, but his bloods still weren't 100%. And he just, I say, he wasn't himself, as you say. Probably didn't get the race was messy race. It was kind of slow, and then he got bumped going down the hill, and he got a bit keen. So I'm inclined to put a line through that. I think looking at his run in Navan, or sorry, in Naas before, Finney McGuire rides him, said he'd rarely seen a horse show the speed that horse showed on heavy ground.
Yes,
absolutely picked up and flew on it. So look, it was a good effort. He was third in a champion bumper. I think the horses that finished first and second in Cheltenham were behind him.
Yes.
So he's definitely one to look forward to, and he will go novice hurdling. He's cantering away at the moment. So again, we'd be looking at a novice, a maiden hurl for him in five or 6 weeks' time, I'd say.
Will that be with the long term aim, possibly of a supreme tilt as well, potentially?
Well, look, I mean, you've got to assume that the horse
Okay,
is grade one form.
perfect.
So, that would be our ambition to campaign him at grade one level. I'm hoping that whatever that issue was, it was a strange one.
Okay, okay,
I mean, whatever that issue was should be well gone. Because he had a summer out
perfect.
in grass. Again, he's a grade one horse until he proves he isn't.
Perfect. Okay, excellent. He's another who's got that real sort of snappy turn of foot. It was just incredible
Yeah,
to see, like you said, the way he pulled away.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, I mean, yeah, look, listen, we had a kind of an interrupted season last year, and he came along when the two grade one horses were knocked out. He came out of the blue. I mean, we knew he was a nice horse. He won his maiden by short head in Navan, but his improvement from his first run to his second run was
yes,
phenomenal. Um, so he's definitely one that has the potential. Well, he's more than potential. He's proven he's capable of holding his own in a Grade One bumper.
I know a lot of people are talking about him already. Um, Another horse of yours that I absolutely love, a really nice chaser, 7-year-old called Hagranka de Tay. Won his last two. He's another
Yeah,
that seems to have improved at the rate of
yeah,
knots, especially in his last two. Is he potentially a horse that could be in the mold of a Ryanair sort come
yeah,
up again long term? He's really impressive to look at.
yeah, yeah. I'm hoping if there is one that's going to make the breakthrough. If you look at that race that he won in
The punches.
Punchestown, it has a very good track record of producing horses that go on to make graded horses. Again, he's one that kind of was a nice boost for the stable at the end of the year.
Yes,
Punchestown Festival winner, and very impressive. First two were well clear. He's on a lovely mark at the moment of 144. Um, so what we have in our mind is he is. I think he's still only. He is much lower over hurls. He's only 121 over hurls, believe it or not.
wow. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
You may
And
start him down that route first at a big price.
yeah, and he's 141. He's 141 over fences and 121 over hurls.
Perfect.
So what we're looking at is probably the Paddy Power Chase.
Wow,
That's worth
fantastic.
200 grand.
Yeah,
There's the Troy Town there as well. But what I'm thinking is, we get him fit, run him in maybe once or twice over hurls. He should be well capable of picking up a nice. He won't get into one of the big ones off 121, but
sure, sure.
like he'll win a nice hurl. And the Paddy Power is there. It's a 0 to 150. So he is guaranteed to get in. It's usually a compressed handicap. He's guaranteed to get in.
Perfect.
I think off 141, he's going to be the way he jumps and travels. I think Leopardstown will be really up his street. And after that, if he doesn't get the run of the race or gets brought down or something like that, you have the Leopardstown Chase at the DRF, which is 100 grand race over 2 miles 5, which is the same distance that he won. I think this year he should, on a track like Leopardstown, I think 3 miles shouldn't be beyond him.
Okay.
And then, after that, if he wins there, he's up into the 150s. So you're talking about, kind of grade two type of horse. And I think he has he has the potential to break out. If he continues to improve the way he did last year.
Because, like you said, when he won at Punchestown as well, you said the first two were going away, but I thought Hagranka was going even further away from Percival Legalwa. It just looked like he was so within himself.
Yeah, and he's disappointed twice. They fancied him for the Galway Plate and the Kerry National. He never got
Yes,
into a rhythm. But the two of them look well ahead of the field back then, and the horse is in great nick. Looks great. The guys are very happy with him.
excellent.
So yeah, we're going to have a nice few handicap chasers this year that are just in the region. They were. It nearly takes the season, to get the horse through his 3 or 4 beginners runs and get enough experience under your belt to
Sure,
go and
sure.
win one of those. So we've quite a number of second season
Excellent, excellent.
chasers there who are going to go down that handicap route. With My Immortal is another one.
Love my immortal. Love my.
Yeah, Farmers Lodge is another one there. He's 131. My Immortal is actually going for the Munster National. He's only 134. Hopefully he get in bottom weight. But that's coming up the end of the month.
He's a
So
great jumper, my immortal, isn't he? As well, he's a
yeah,
really good jumper of a fence.
yeah. So he could be one for he could be one for one of those early, the Munster National, something like that, or maybe the Tri-Town.
Okay, okay. Apples of Brazil, Barry. He's been quite unfortunate at Galway in his last two. A bad error in each race has perhaps cost him
Yeah,
race. I know the first day you told me he came out a little bit sore from his first run at
yeah,
Galway, where he hit one quite hard, but he's ever so talented, isn't he?
yeah. Look, he hasn't been showing it on the track what he shows us at home and in his work. And I think the 2 runs in Galway, he made the identical same mistake at that second last. And typically, what happens at that second last is the horses slow up coming up the hill and then sprint into that second last, and it's caught him out both times. And he
Okay,
made a really bad mistake. I think the race IQ data last time said it cost him 3 lengths, and he was beaten a length and a
okay.
half. Mightn't have won in Galway during the summer, but he definitely would have been on the premises. So he actually runs in Gorn on Saturday over 2.5 miles,
Okay.
and they're the traditional hurls, and it's the first time. I think 2.5. He's a big, long striding galloping horse that wants a galloping track, and probably Galway didn't suit him. Look, he's been a bit unlucky. At the same time, I'm reluctant to keep making excuses for
Sure,
horses that
sure.
keep getting beat. But we do like him, and I'm hoping we're going to declare him for Gorn Park on Saturday, and I'm hoping he goes and he wins.
Yes, yeah.
And if he does that, then we're back on track, and we're looking at possibly a graded race in Navan in November.
I'd love to see him get back on track. I really would. He's definitely got all the potential there. Not too many more, Barry. I won't take up too much of your time. You've got a lovely 10-year-old who's got quite a low mileage, and he absolutely loves Nace. Of course, that's Espinito Bello. How has he been over the summer?
Yeah, he's very good. He's actually very forward. We made an entry
Okay.
for him in the Grade 2 chase in Gorn Park on Saturday.
Okay, excellent.
And if the ground is suitable, he'll run. There'll only be 5 or 6 runners. I think what we're going to do with him, I've been making mistakes with him. We've been running him over extended trips. He ran in the Irish National twice and pulled up both times.
Okay.
I actually ran him over 2 miles this year, and he ran really well. He finished third in a
Yes.
graded race. So I think 2.5. I'm going to go pot hunting with him,
Okay,
and I'm
excellent.
going to run him in. I think he's better in small field races as well. So we'll run him in everything we can find in Naas. And as I say, we may run him in Gorn on Saturday if the ground is suited. It's going to cut up. It'll probably only be 4 or 5 runners in it.
Okay. But he likes the smaller fields then. Just feel like the hustle and bustle of a big handicap.
Yes.
Too
Yeah.
much for him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look, he's a funny horse. He's his own mind, and he's been around. He won a 4-year-old bumper, and he's been around. He's won every year since. And look, he won the Brown Lad Handicap Hurl in Naas, and brilliant. We're away in a hack.
Yeah.
We brought him to Navan, and he pulled himself up after 3 hurls. He's a bit of a character. So
sounds like he's his own boss a little bit.
he is his own boss. Yeah. Look, he'll definitely, pay his way. He'll definitely pay his way this year, but we're not expecting any great fireworks or anything from him.
Now, when I came to your yard, we had a walk through the field side by side next to Marine Nationale. It was quite the dream come true to me. But I was really taken by a horse that he was with called Claude Duval. He's a old stamp of a horse. He is. I feel. I'd just like to ask him. He was third at Navan in a maiden hurdle, but he was against much more experienced horses. And I mean, that's got to show he's got a fair amount of ability himself. That one there, Barry.
Yeah. He's very, very big, and he's still growing. He's still growing, and he got a hairline fracture. A horse bounced off him.
Okay.
It's like a brick wall, actually. If you go back and look at the race, I think it was one of Noel Meads made a mistake and bounced off him. And he got a tiny little hairline crack, but he's fully healed. And he's riding out again. He's just still growing,
I couldn't believe the size of him. Honestly, he was just massive, monstrous.
He's close to 17 hands. So look, as you know, with ours, what we do is we just wait for them to come to us. William Munny was a 6-year-old before he ran, and he's not over big. Claude is 6 now. He'll be 7 next year. But it just look. He mightn't run to the spring.
Okay.
But he definitely has talent. There's no two ways about that.
Perfect. 2 more, Barry. A horse that I was very taken by again at your yard, Net Boy. He seems to have come forward quite a lot this year. Only ran once so far. You were quite taken by him when I was at your yard. You said he's really nice horse to go forward with this
year. Nice horse. He is forward.
Good.
So he will be probably looking at a bumper with him in I'd say in about a month.
Okay, excellent.
And he's one that probably won't. He'll go straight over hurdles after that, I'd say, if he wins this bumper.
Perfect. Okay, right. The last one then, Barry. Now, last year you did an interview with Irish Racing and you kept a horse under wraps. He's by Westerner, and you have allowed me to name him. He's called Each to Their Own. When I came to your yard, every single member of the team that I spoke to seemed incredibly excited by him, almost dubbing him Marine 2.0. What can you tell us about Each to Their Own, Barry, with regards to the season ahead?
Well, the interesting thing about that Irish Racing interview was we had another Westerner who hadn't run at that stage, William Munny.
Okay, fine. Because he's a
Westerner
as well.
That's who the Westerner was. But no, this guy actually ran in a schooling hurl in Tipperary last year. It normally takes place next week after the last Tipperary meeting. And he ran the schooling hurl, and you guys in England don't have them, but you just rock up, and there could be 10 divisions of the maiden hurl, and you don't know what's in there until afterwards. You kind of ask around what's in there, but it's usually this time of the year. In the first and second division, you're usually going to get graded horses.
Okay.
That are getting ready for their first runs and so forth. So it's usually a pretty good indicator of ability. And he acquitted himself really well for
Okay.
for a young horse who little or no experience. He was very good. So we decided he's only 5. He was only 4 last year.
Was that when he ran in the schooling race when he was a
Yeah,
4?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think
So
you may go into a bumper with him and then
yeah,
send him
oh, he
straight
definitely
over
go for a
hurdles.
bumper.
Yeah.
Plan would be there isn't a great bumper program until for 5-year-olds and upwards until about the end of November.
Okay.
There's one at the Drinmore meeting, which is usually a very hot race, and there's one at the Troy Town meeting as well in Navan the week before. So I imagine we're probably looking at one or other of those races for him. And after that, we'll see what way we go with them. Whether we stay in bumpers or whether we go over hurdles.
Because what I like as well, Barry, you said you're quite patient with your younger horses. We were discussing like the development of them, and you said sending them sort of hurdling or chasing too early. You described it almost like a youngster holding a backpack, and if you put too much strain on them too early, it can almost outweigh their balance. Is this something that you like to do with all of your younger horses, just to make sure they're race course ready?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the likes of Claude Duval and these big horses. They're big, they're big frames, and physiologically, you have to allow their whole system to catch up with their frame. So it's getting all of that conditioning into them, and a lot of it is done, without a rider on their back,
Yes.
in a lunge ring, or then when you have a rider on their back, maybe doing just flat work and work over poles and all that kind of stuff. We're not in any particular rush to have horses run as 4 and 5-year-olds. So, they can equally have a 4 or 5 year career,
Yes.
between 6 and 10. It
Sure.
doesn't bother me. Like William Munny is not a big horse, but he just, you do a bit each year with the horse, and sometimes they will tell you they're ready to stop.
Okay, I
They're
see.
getting weak, and if you press ahead with them, then you're not going to have a horse next year.
Okay. Okay.
So what we just do is we just put him aside, a bit like he threw his own last year. We knew that there was ability there, so we give him an extra year to let him develop. And like for us, most of the horses are our own, so we're not under any commercial pressure,
Excellent.
to run these horses.
Sure, sure.
We typically stop buying secondhand horses because we're too much trouble, with injuries, from other yards. So you typically buy them unraced, and they, as 3-year-olds, and we bring them through our own system, and if it takes 2 or 3 years before they run, so be it.
Yes.
So be it. And each of these horses will have something small, a niggle, whether it's a strain or a muscular strain or a little hairline fracture or something that'll keep them out of action for a while. And sometimes it's a blessing in disguise. We had a couple of horses last year had tiny hairline fractures, pelvic fractures, just stand in the box for 6 weeks and they're fine. But when you look at them this year compared to last year, you say, "Oh, lucky we didn't run him or her again," because they're another 20 or 30 kilos heavier, and they're much bigger, more developed horses.
I did, I did,
Um,
I did really admire that when I came to your yard. Actually, was the attention to detail to the horses, their mental welfare, and the way that you nurture them, give them that time, and even the way when we were in Goodland's box, you mentioned how the filtration was from one end of the box to the other. The particular sawdust used was sort of dust free and things. I really did admire that, and it just showed the care of the horse is always the number one.
that's that's really basic stuff. I mean, it's just ventilation. Um, all stables need to have air change and need to have good ventilation. The last thing a yard wants in the middle of the season is to get caught with a sick horse or horses, and that's usually caused by respiratory
Okay.
infections. So what we do is it's obvious stuff. It's the basics. We have very good ventilation, very good airy stables, and turn them out. And all of the hay and shavings we use are dust free. But most people do that as well. So I wouldn't be
It was
saying.
still great to see because I found they were all so relaxed. There was no horse that was worked up or too excited. They were so calm, all of them. It just seemed a really nice. I just admired that. I just thought it was great to see.
Well, we have our own gallop at home, and we have a Curragh license as well, and the facilities in the Curragh are only 15 minutes away. So we kind of have the best of both worlds, because if you're on a if you're training in a training center and the horses have to come out onto that training center every day, they don't necessarily know whether they're going just for an ordinary canter or for a gallop.
Okay.
So they tend to be a little bit more on edge
Okay. Okay.
than necessary. Whereas in our place, during the season, they'd probably have one trip to the car a week, and the rest of the time they're at home. So when they're at home, when they're tacked up, they know they're just going for a canter at home.
Yes.
And then the ones that are in full training, a lot of them get turned out to paddocks in the afternoon, so they can get their head down and stay as relaxed as you can. It's just important to keep the stress out of their system, and that way they don't get the likes of gastric ulcers, which means they won't eat. If they don't
Okay.
eat, you can't train them. So
Sure. Sure.
that's really why it's important to keep them as relaxed as possible. They're all
And
different characters. Some of them are a bit more on edge than others, but generally speaking, they seem to enjoy the regime.
Marine seems to be the most relaxed of them all. Like you said, he was bomb proof when obviously he was running at Charlton. He really was.
Yeah,
In fact, we could just walk in the field next to him. You just approach. It was just amazing, absolutely amazing to see.
yeah,
Really
it's big help, big help. Because a lot of racehorses over the years have had tons of ability,
yes.
but when you go to that pre-parade ring in Cheltenham for the grade ones and you look at some of the horses, some of them are on edge. They're jig joggy, maybe starting to boil over. It's an athlete that's kind of finely tuned, and it's only natural that could happen. But if they have the capacity to cope with the training and cope with traveling over and all of the crowds and everything like that, that's a big plus for Marine.
Yes.
It's a big plus for him. We know if he gets there, please God, to Cheltenham next year, that his temperament isn't going to be a hindrance.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, look, Barry, this has been amazing. I'm sorry I didn't mean to actually keep you as long as we've gone on for, but as soon as you say something, I want to ask something else. As you know, I'm a super fan of your yard, a super fan of Marine. And I really do wish you all the best of luck this coming season. I'll be following you left, right, and centre. And let's hope, obviously, we can get Marine to Cheltenham in one piece. Thanks for your time, Barry.
All right, Joe. Thanks
Thank
very
you so
much.
much. Thank you.
Okay, bye.